Silence. It's the one thing that most of us don't know what to do with and have no idea how important it really is. Silence is the way in which God has communicated with people throughout the past and present. Silence is also a key step for all pastors to be able to practice, for multiple purposes and multiple reasons. The first being, a pastor is not someone who only speaks. He's also someone who must listen. He must be capable of listening to what people say or don't say. Silence is the key thing that every pastor needs to have, or needs to practice, needs to get better at to be a pastor. The example I want to use today comes straight from the Bible, the book of Exodus. The character many of you are familiar with is Moses. Think to yourself, how did God speak to Moses? Think of every time that happened. The first time that we read that God speaks to Moses is through the burning bush. What sound do you think a burning bush makes? A burning bush that absolutely doesn't burn anything else. Moses sticks his hand into the flame and nothing happens. He sticks his staff that he has into the flame and nothing happens. But in that burning bush, he hears the voice of God, commanding him, instructing him, teaching him, and most important, loving him. Another time that we have an account for when Moses hears the voice of God is atop Mount Sinai. And what happens there? What is at the top of the mountain? What sort of noise do you think that Moses is able to hear there? The birds of the air? The snow that's falling down? It's silence. Another example of a perfect example of silence is Job. Job, as we all know, suffered. He lost, but he also gained. In the story of Job, how does God speak? When does he speak? Does he speak to Job's friends as they're making fun of him, as they're cursing him, as they're trying to convince him that he's done something wrong in his life? Or does he speak through the whirlwind? Where would a whirlwind happen? In the middle of a party? No. Job hears the voice of God in the whirlwind in the middle of silence. The second stage of silence involves us practicing silence. As a pastor, as I said, we need to learn how to be able to, first of all, be in silence and also be silent. What I mean is that when people come to you and they ask you a question, or if they don't ask you a question, they just want to talk to you because you're someone that they trust, that they've learned to love, that they have compassion for. Most people don't need you to give them advice all the time. People come to you with the burdens, with the problems, with the issues going on in life, and all they need you to do is sit there in silence. Imagine someone coming up to you and saying, I feel like killing myself. What's the right answer there? You can tell them, well, let's pray. Let's turn to God. Let's go in the Bible. That's great. But that person doesn't need a response that very second. That person needs someone who's there to listen to him in that silence. The beginning of this video started out very awkwardly, obviously. It started out looking at my eye, and for about 35 or 40 seconds, backing up with no audio. Why do you think that is? I'm going to walk away from the video right now, and I want you to think about what I've said. See if you can practice that silence.